very good afternoon to you all and a warm welcome. I'm Sejal Shibe from Cyberfrat and I welcome you all to the Wednesday Wisdom webinar on the topic Code to Cloud, Automate Security and Accelerate Modern Development. So Wednesday Wisdom, I would request, someone's mic is on, I think, if you could just...
Yeah, I muted them, Sejal, thank you.
Okay. Wednesday Wisdom is a webinar series that Cyberfrat is doing with our association partner Onefede. With Wednesday Wisdom, we demonstrate the best of breed next-gen technologies which enable your business to transform digitally, acquire compliance, and more importantly, mitigate the upcoming cybersecurity risks. So for today's webinar, we have with us the solution expert partner oak9. oak9 is the only software solution automating cloud-native security across the entire software development lifecycle. oak9 secures cloud-native infrastructure for developers, and their open-sourced security as code also enables security engineers to extend oak9 security blueprints for additional guardrails. And joining us as guest speakers from oak9 are Om Vyas, who is the co-founder and chief product officer, Ronak Shah, senior VP and head of India, and Pushpa Redkar, senior director sales and alliances. So thank you for being here, Team oak9. We have a full house of experts with us today in this discussion. So I would request the participants to put in their thoughts and questions in the chat box. We will definitely address all of those. And stay tuned till the end for the Kahoot quiz, which will be based on the presentation. And the 3 top scorers gets to win Amazon Kindles. And there will also be a Wheel of Fortune at the end. And the winner gets amazing Cyberfrat goodies. And before we start, I would just like to invite Mr. Dushyant Parekh from Onefede to speak a few words. Thank you.
Hey, Sejal, thank you for the introduction and a very warm welcome to the oak9 team. Pushpa, Ronak, and Om. Glad to have you all, on this episode of Wednesday Wisdom. As Sejal mentioned, we are doing this series every Wednesday, to share, insights into, some of the niche and emerging or innovative, solutions in cybersecurity. So as many of you might already be knowing, Onefede is a B2B cybersecurity marketplace. And we have more than 65 different emerging niche innovative or I would say disruptive cybersecurity solutions on our platform. So I encourage all of you to visit onefede.com, and if you have any projects, any requirements for any cybersecurity related requirements, we would be glad to work with you. We would engage with our OEM partners and would be glad to be associated with you guys. So with that, I'll not take much time. I'll hand it over to the great oak9 team what we have on board with us today. So over to you, Pushpa, Om, and Ronak. Thank you for joining us today, and thanks Cyberfrat team for organizing this series of webinars. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks Dushyant and Sejal, and thanks for having us, on behalf of oak9. I'll quickly introduce our team here, and we can get started. And thanks again for joining, taking an hour of I'm sure what's a very busy afternoon for everyone. So as Dushyant and Sejal mentioned, my name is Om Vyas. I am the co-founder and chief product officer over here at oak9. My background spans cloud, software engineering, and this is a subject area that's near and dear to my heart. So really looking forward to the conversation. I have alongside with me here Ronak Shah, who's president of India operations. Ronak, do you wanna say a quick hello? And then
Hi, folks.
And then yeah. I also have Pushpa Redkar with us here. Pushpa is leading all of our, she's our director of sales, all of India and Asia. Pushpa, say a quick hello and we'll get started.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to the session. Let's have a great session for you guys.
Yeah, so team, today, I'm not a big proponent of PowerPoint. So a couple of things I'll say is that there's really only I believe 3 slides that we're sharing, the title slide included, right? We'll jump right in. One of the things that as you all know, right, is many organizations are not only moving rapidly to the cloud, but at the pace with which the complexity of applications and workloads that are running in the cloud is growing, right? I mean, if we just think about some of the surveys that the recent DevOps.com reports are suggesting, or some of the recent data from Gartner, by 2025, 85% of the world's organization, both big and small, are going to be in the cloud, right? Just this past year, there were 12 million downloads of Terraform, right? So really what we are seeing is a rapid adoption of cloud, and not just adoption from a lift and shift perspective, but really adoption from building cloud infrastructure security, which is serving as really the catalyst of all this growth. And I would love to take a quick poll and learn a little bit more about from the audience on what sorts of cloud providers are you all using? Do you have single cloud strategy, multi-cloud strategy? And let's keep this session very interactive. So if you have questions that you want to ask, please chime in and add them to the chat. Ronak and Pushpa and Sejal and myself will monitor them, and we'll answer as many questions as we can along the way here. But really the goal of the session is to keep it interactive, to show you an example of how teams and organizations are building infrastructure, and really what does that mean for your security and compliance of your infrastructure. So do we want to do the first poll? I think be a good time to queue that one up.
Just a minute, oh, we are doing that.
All right, looks like
Oh, are you able to see the poll?
yeah, I'm able to see it. I was just it's updating in real time. So I mean, I think what we're
Okay.
seeing is a really good balance between AWS and Microsoft, right? It seems like it's neck and neck. And this is pretty typical, wouldn't you say, Ronak and Pushpa, that we hear from our customers, right? It's a pretty even split between AWS and Azure, and then GCP is really actively gaining as well. And I also see other, right, which may mean that folks are using other cloud service providers like IBM Cloud, Oracle Cloud, and what have you. But it seems like for the most part, Azure and AWS are still in the lead. All right, so I mean, I think we can get started. I think there's a really good balance, and I think today the example I'll walk through is with AWS, but I can also show you an example on Azure, right? Because one of the things that's happening is that a lot of larger enterprises, and as the companies grow, they typically use multiple cloud service providers as well. So Sejal, I think we're good on the first question poll, and I think I can get started. All right, so let me share my screen. And let's. So team, what I'm going to show you today is, I have this Terraform example for an AWS workload that I'm building, right? And this is pretty typical, right? Where organizations will use infrastructure as code languages like Terraform to build out their workload, right? And what I'm building here is a set of APIs that's using Terraform modules to build out an API gateway service. I have some DynamoDB that's hosting my data. I have some S3 buckets and Lambdas, that like serverless compute that's providing my business logic to execute that request that comes into the API gateway into the service. So if we have an example like this of a workload and we use Terraform to build this out, really one of the things that happens here, and I just want to make sure Ronak and Pushpa, keep me honest, you guys are able to see our screen, my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to actually run a real-time example of this workload, right? So I just ran my Terraform plan command. I'm going to run Terraform apply and build this workload out. And we'll see, all right, it wants me to hit yes, and so I can start building out and provisioning this workload. So what we're really seeing here is that, I have lots of different modules that I've built. I'm referencing these modules that I found, some on Terraform registry, some online, some that I've built in-house to build out this workload. And it looks like our apply was completed. We were able to add 13 resources, and our workload should be provisioned. So if I switch gears and actually show you what this workload looks like in the cloud, let me do a share of my screen. And so I have my API AWS environment here. So now you'll notice that we just created this workload through our Terraform. That's the API. My API has a bunch of different routes, my get and post for my workloads. I'm going to look to make sure that our DynamoDB tables got set up correctly. So let's see here. All right. So it looks like my users table is active and it looks like my service is up and running, right? So at this point, typically what we see and hear from a lot of our customers are, hey, my work is done as a developer or as an SRE. I built a functional aspect of my my workload in my example. So am I really completely done, right? And usually right off the get-go, right, if you are a security engineer, security architect, or security expert, or someone who's really focused on compliance, you'll immediately come in and ask like, hey, what about the security of this? What about the compliance of this? How do we actually know that this cloud native workload that I just built took me, a handful of seconds to run my Terraform apply and build this workload in the cloud? How do I know that this workload is secure and compliant, right? And this is really a fundamental questions that a lot of organizations are asking. So they're wondering like, hey, as I build out this workload, how do I figure out that should I worry about if this workload is secure compliant after deployment? How do I quickly understand what are all the different security design gaps in this workload and how these APIs are communicating with my serverless compute, such as Lambda in this AWS example, and how that serverless Lambda has access control and is interacting with my DynamoDB table, but it could be any RDS instance, it could be any data store, potentially hosting, customer-centric sensitive data, right? So this is really where, oak9 comes in, right? What oak9 can help customers do is we can help integrate into your development workflow and really help you enable security and compliance by design, right? So what I want to do is I want to switch gears and I want to show you an example of how oak9 can help you validate this workload for this example. So let me set up and let me show you how easy and straightforward this would be in oak9. So really it comes down to us running a single command right through this IDE to enable that workflow. So let me switch my screen here. All right, so I have run my workload. Let me run this command. Give me a second. So I think while I'm bringing together this CLI, Sejal, I think we would love to run the next two polls really around what are the strategies that folks are using around their infrastructure as code, and maybe what, you know, security and compliance challenges that that they are trying to solve for. Do we want to run the second and the third poll? I think people were already starting to answer, I think. Are you guys seeing the poll, or is the poll up, I guess?
No, I think those questions were already covered in the first poll. The IGC
Oh,
platform.
we did all three all at
yes.
the same time?
And at the same time, yeah, exactly.
Ah, I got it. Okay, I think the poll seems like it's yep. Yeah, so I mean, I think it's back up. I think people should be seeing it, right? So I think it seems like a lot of folks aren't using infrastructure as code integrations. Some people are using Kubernetes, some people are using CloudFormation, and about 15% or so are using Terraform. And you know, it seems like since majority of the folks on in this example or in this webinar are not using infrastructure as code, but this example is relevant for if you are deploying workloads directly through ClickOps based or through AWS or Azure Console. This would apply to you as well. And what I'll do here is I'll walk through quickly walk through that example as well. Okay. All right, so I think we have a good bit of understanding on the integrations, and it seems like from a compliance perspective, ISO 27001 is really the big winner, followed by GDPR and CCPA. And you know, this is not surprising, right? Like lot of organizations that are trying to achieve, you know, their SOC 2 compliance or international compliance and standards for a lot of the companies that have customers, you know, across many different regions such as EU, North, South America are really focused on ISO 27K 001 compliance. So let's let me share my screen, and I think since the audience is using Terraform, but also using cloud-based environments, then I will walk us through both examples here as well. So let me make sure. All right, so you should now see my screen. And what I want to do is, oops. Yeah, let me. Okay, as these live examples go, looks like I need to enable permissions. Give me a second here. So. Yeah, so let's walk through this example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build out a project with oak9 in AWS, right? And since folks talked about ISO 27001 as one of the compliance models, right? What oak9 does is, since we provide risk appropriate and dynamics cloud infrastructure security, we ask a handful of questions to better understand, how should we, what sorts of deployment model you're using. Obviously, in this case, you're using public cloud. We can support that if you're using hybrid cloud, or even if you are using private cloud. We have a really good way to support that. A lot of folks on the survey mentioned ISO 27001 as one of the needs for compliance. Another predominant one was GDPR, and PCI DSS seemed to be the three that kind of were dominating. And really, if you think about what a lot of these different compliance frameworks are doing, is oftentimes some frameworks are very, very prescriptive, and other frameworks are very broad in their definition of some of their control requirements, right? And it oftentimes takes a lot of manual work to get this right. And oak9 can enable this really out of the box. And then, the last few questions that we really ask are around data sensitivity, around business impact of what happens if this workload were to be compromised? What sorts of data, as an example that we built in the DynamoDB table, is it private sensitive business data, as I was mentioning, right? What's the business impact to the business? Who are your end users, right? Are they consumers or are they business partners? Maybe this is an internal application that your workforce is using. Once we understand the answers to these questions, for a lot of the folks like yourselves in the webinar that are using to directly deploy workloads to the cloud, what oak9 can come in is we can directly connect to your AWS environment, and we can provide you that feedback. So let's look at what that looks like, right? I'm going to connect to our sandbox AWS environment, and I'm going to select a handful of assets that make up this workload, and I'm going to show you in real time how quickly and easily oak9 can help you understand your security and compliance. So you'll notice what we did is I had a pre-configured read-only access to my AWS environment. oak9 identify all of the different resources that are running in this cloud. And let's pick some of these APIs and some of the examples that we had built in here. So I'm going to pick an S3 bucket. I'm going to pick some of our Lambda functions that we had created. I'll pick the EC2 instances. And let me pick out that API gateway that we have. So let me do the orchestrator one as well. So I picked out about 6 or 7 of these resources that we were creating that make up my workload. And what you'll notice here is that oak9 not only creates a nice visual, but it will intelligently go and discover all of the other different resources and assets that are connected to it via role-based access control, be via information or data flows. And you'll notice oak9 identified 25 of these assets. And if I zoom in here a little bit, just for you to better see this workload, we'll actually visually articulate, we'll realize and understand that, not only you have these serverless functions, that you have S3 buckets, but we're noticing these API gateways and how they're routing traffic to those serverless functions. These serverless functions are supporting a lot of these different routes into your API gateways. And oak9 can not only help understand that, but entirely visualize your architecture. And then if we're looking at your security and compliance, let me zoom in here. you'll notice that we immediately identified that, hey, there are 5 critical issues, 3 high issues, and we identify what this means for your specific compliance, options that you've selected and how you're meeting your compliance, right? And for those practitioners that are SREs, that are cloud ops and engineers, we can actually not only help you understand your compliance, your risk, what technical security controls apply, but down to the nitty-gritty details of what specific configurations are actually mapping to help you not only understand what security requirements you're not meeting, but what you need to do to actionably fix that. And what this enables you to do as an organization, as a practitioner, is quickly secure and make your workloads secure and compliant. So, and really, if you think about this entire exercise, it took me a few minutes, and I was able to quickly understand my security posture, understand my compliance, but in nowhere in any of this exercise, I had to figure out, okay, well, what does it take for me to secure my API gateway? What does it take me to secure all of my serverless functions and my data stores? oak9 provides dynamic security right out of the box. And the way we enable that is through our security blueprints. So we have over 95% coverage on most common workloads and services and capabilities that you're using across AWS, Azure, and GCP. And I'll pause here. Would love to field some questions. Ronak, Pushpa, are we seeing some questions in the poll or in the chat that we can help audience answer around what we showed today, how easily oak9 can help a lot of organizations achieve security and compliance for their cloud native infrastructure security. Yeah, so one of the questions I'm seeing from Amol is, let me read this question out to everyone. How does it help over and above the AWS well-architected framework? So, Amol, this is really a great question. AWS well-architected framework is something that we actually inherently support. One of the things that AWS well-architected framework does is, if you're an organization that's starting your cloud journey, it really helps you create a good template or a good architecture path to get started. But as you know, right, that organizations are delivering really, really fast. So sprint over sprint, release cycle over release cycle, your complexity of your workloads are growing. So it's not only enough to say, we did AWS well-architected framework to get started, but it's important to give you a complete and continuous compliance, security, and monitoring of how these workloads are changing and what does that really mean for your security and compliance. So what oak9 can help you do is we can help you not only adhere to your AWS well-architected framework to start off with, but we can make sure that you're continuing to adhere to that framework. And one of the things that we can deliver, if you're using ClickOps based approaches to deploy this architecture in the cloud, and by ClickOps I mean directly using AWS Console or AWS CLI, then we have automated and continuous monitoring that you can enable. If you're using your Terraform or other IAC languages like Helm charts or Kubernetes, then we can help you integrate into your code repositories. We can help you integrate into your CI/CD pipelines through many different integrations that we have to help you really achieve that security and compliance much earlier in the process. So hopefully that answered your question, Amol. So I think Karishma is asking, do you provision auto remediation or just the procedure to fix the non-compliance? So Karishma, thanks for that question. It's a really great question. So we not only can help you identify these issues, but we can help you remediate them. So if you, for example, come in and plug this workload through, for example, if you're building infrastructure as code, then we can absolutely help you remediate your issues as well, right? Because I don't want to just tell you, hey, you don't want tools to just tell you what all your issues are. We can help you remediate it, right? And I can actually, walk you through that example, right? So, for example, we have integrations into a lot of most commonly used repositories like GitHub, Bitbucket, and let me pull this up. Yeah, so we can support GitHub, Bitbucket, Azure repos. We have a CLI that you can integrate into your code repository. We have integrations into your CI/CD pipelines like Jenkins if you're using that, Azure pipelines, Azure DevOps pipelines, GitHub Actions. And what this can do is, let me show you that example using, of what the remediation may look like. And since I used an AWS example, right, I'll show you guys an example of what it takes to build this out in in GitHub and what that remediation looks like. So give me a second here. I will sign in to my. So let's yeah. So Vijaya asked, but for AWS and Azure already providing security measures for users, right? So I think this is really a common misnomer. What AWS and Azure will do is they really provide you some basic, basic policies. But what AWS and Azure don't really understand is how do these workloads, what are you trying to do with these workloads? How to in detail secure your workloads? They don't understand. They will give you general compliance guidance, right? To say, hey, if you're using certain features and capability of AWS and Azure cloud, that if you're using AWS config or AWS guard, if you're using, Azure policies, they'll give you some basic things out of the box to make sure that you're not making some silly mistakes like, your buckets or object blob storages are open to the public. But really AWS and Azure, they don't really understand in depth what your workloads are, what business problems you're trying to solve. And it's not just about checking the checkbox with compliance to say, hey, you're using serverless compute. Is that HIPAA compliant as far as Azure and AWS are concerned? It's really getting down to the nitty-gritty details of that serverless compute is talking to your RDS instance. Did you actually protect your data at rest encryption? Is the communication flow between that serverless function and that data store, right? Is it using mutual TLS? All of those nitty-gritty details, AWS and Azure will not provide you out of the box, right? And also keep in mind that a lot of the capabilities of Azure and AWS, they're actually charging. So as your workload grows in complexity, the costs for running AWS guard, AWS security policies is also expensive. So what I want to show you is that pull request that Karishma was asking about for the remediation. So, right, I can show you quickly that oak9 can actually help you secure, not only identify those issues, right, but we can actually create remediations through pull requests. So this is an example of oak9 that, on a code commit came in and created a pull request where we can actually help you recommend changes across your code. If you're missing certain capabilities into your workloads, then we can actually help you add those configurations as well. So I think, I just want to make sure that I'm answering questions as I go along here. There's another question from Raghavendran. He's asking that, will oak9, will it detect the gaps during build or the solution monitoring and alert in real time? Any agents or code we need to install? So the answer is yes and yes. We will not only help you at build time, we actually go as far left as design and implementation time well before build. So we can plug into your code repository, we can plug into your IDEs through CLI, we can plug in at build time through your code pipelines, and we will help you real-time post-deployment, right? So we can continuously monitor it once this application or workload is deployed, Raghavendran. So it really is all of the above. And then you asked, do we require any agents or code to be installed? Absolutely not. We are a completely agentless solution. We connect to your cloud service provider directly through API-based integration. All we need is a read-only access to go and analyze your deployed environment in the cloud. And then Karishma is asking, what is the access level that oak9 is requiring for analyzing the cloud workloads? And that's really a great question. So again, Karishma, this is a read-only access. What we require is a AWS managed policy for audit role. That audit role gives us the ability, again, to read and analyze entire workloads and how these are architected, right? So if I go back to this example that I just created in AWS, the one of the ways we can not only visualize and understand, you know, how are your workloads deployed, but how are they connected? And to be able, for us to be able to draw out this architecture, we need that AWS audit role policy for us to understand how are all these different components that are deployed map up to your application that you're trying to secure with oak9. How are they interconnected through data flows and role-based access controls and all those types of things? By the way, the audience, I'm really happy and glad that you guys are all engaged. And you guys are asking wonderful questions, so keep them coming. I know we're coming right down to the hour here. Let's see. Also demonstrate some capability for API gateway. Amol, do you want to clarify a little bit more on what specific capabilities can I help demonstrate on API gateway? I'm happy to dive in a little bit deeper. Yeah, so Amol's question is, how efficiently is it able to scan the API, right? So really, I want to clarify here, right? So we can, just as you saw here, that we can analyze your API gateway. Now, remember, we are sitting in your foundational layer, right? So we're sitting at your cloud infrastructure layer as far as that API gateway is concerned. What we're not doing is we're not analyzing your live requests that are coming into your APIs, right? We're not analyzing the requests. But nonetheless, what we can do is we can analyze that API gateway. We understand what are all the different routes that you have in that API gateway, as you see here. We can analyze that. Do you have WAF enabled on that API gateway, right? That API gateway, is it securely protecting the data integrity logs? Do you have those WAF rules? Is it protecting you against DDoS attacks? Does that WAF on your API gateway, is it protecting you against your SQL injection attacks? So that is the level of rigor that we have for API gateway. We do not have any overhead on API performance. Again, we are not, Gaurav was asking, you know, do we impact performance on API gateway? Absolutely not. Because we're not sitting at your runtime of that API gateway, we are not impacting performance of any of your APIs. Really, we're sitting at the infrastructure layer. And then, you know, Raghavendran's asking a follow-up question of, does the solution monitor privilege access, user ID related activities, detect and identify? Yeah, so we are looking at identity and access management, like your IAM roles and things like that. We do report on compliance across all of them. And we're continuously working on building you know, more complex, to support more complex scenarios around identity and access management, right? So for example, if you are using identity and access management, that's capabilities of features and services of cloud service providers like, you know, Azure AD B2C or, you know, AWS identity, then to us, that's just another feature of the cloud service provider that you're using, and we will absolutely support that capability. Yeah, so lots of great questions. So Bhaskar has multiple questions. You know, he's asking, you know, to support real-time SSDLC, do you guys supply any dev-friendly agent or software to integrate into your IDE? What's the support towards DAS scans and ISC scans? Any reporting capabilities to detect resources who are pushing more bus into the system? How's the solution can detect the issues in real time if it's only read-only access to cloud environment? Do you mean it's only looking to cloud-related issue misconfigs, or do you also help to detect runtime issues from live app? Yeah, so we're not at the application layer, Bhaskar. We do have a CLI that you can download for any platform, be it Windows, Linux, Mac, OS, that you can integrate directly into IDE to run real-time validations as your workloads through infrastructure as code are changing. we are not a static analysis tool. We are really a dynamic infrastructure, cloud infrastructure tool. So again, we are not, we are complementary to your application SaaS DaaS tools that you would use, right? We are really the foundational layer of cloud infrastructure security, right? So any IAC, any deployed cloud environment, and even though we're not using agent, how do we know in real time what your cloud environment is? So the reason why we know real time is because we can monitor your cloud environment and how it's changing, and we can monitor for drift, right? So once you help us draw out a boundary of what your application or workload looks like, we can continue to monitor that, and we'll recognize our solution is intelligent enough to recognize through that read-only AWS audit role on are you adding new features and services capabilities that are, like as an example, did you add a new serverless compute that is connected to this API gateway? That new serverless compute or Lambda that you added, or AWS or in Azure functions that you added, is it connecting to some new data sources? Is it connecting to your EKS or AKS clusters or Kubernetes clusters on the back end? We are intelligently able to correlate all this data directly from analyzing how your workloads and features and services and that you're deploying in the cloud. Do we have reports? Yes, absolutely. We can provide you one-click security and compliance reports. We have a nice dashboard that you can use to aggregate your data across your entire enterprise. You can select a specific workload that we just walked through today to understand your compliance adherence, your security posture, all of those things. Are there provisions to mark issues as a risk or exception based on the organization's risk appetite? That's what Karishma is asking. Absolutely, Karishma. We have a really nice story around being able to create policy exceptions that are specific to the organization. So let me go back into this project or application that we created. So what you can do is you can say, hey, I understand that I'm not meeting my data at rest encryption just yet, but I know that my team is working on fixing that. I can go ahead and snooze this design gap, right? And with a click of a button, you'll notice that we can snooze this design gap. If you want to create an exception across your entire enterprise or just this project, we have an automated workflow where we'll fill in all the data with a couple of clicks. You can build rules and you can create a pretty nice set of policy exceptions across your entire enterprise. Can it be integrated into ITSM tools to track tickets for critical cases and help tracking them seamlessly? The answer is absolutely yes. We provide nice integrations into your Jira, ServiceNow, Azure boards. We will not only automate creating the tickets, but we will sequence and track them. So if you, for example, move that ticket from to do to in progress to done, we'll actually go and validate that did you actually fix all the critical issues that we identify as the ticket was marked to complete. So the answer is absolutely yes. This is fully automated, and I can even walk you through a sort of a quick example of a predefined project that we have that shows you how Jira workflow works, right? So I have this project where I've integrated Jira. I can show you that, if you go into Jira workflows, it's pretty much as simple as selecting what type of integration, Jira type. You can select the Jira project that you want us to incorporate. Who do you want us to assign this security design gaps to? For what security design gaps based on severity do you want us to automate these workflows? Critical, high, like you're asking them all, or it could be like I'll manually create it, always create it for me. And literally with a few click of buttons, we can automate this entire flow. So some really great questions, folks. If there are no more questions, I would love to hand it off to Ronak to talk about our differentiation. I think we covered some of that, and then I would love for Ronak and Pushpa to cover also. We have a nice community edition. Ronak, do you want to jump in and provide some color on why?
Sure. Thank you all. The demo was quite informative and helpful. Let me touch upon a few important points which makes oak9 best-in-class solution and leader in the cloud security. The first point is a context-aware customized security as blueprints. As Om already mentioned that we understand the context of the organization, the context of your business and applications, right? So oak9 provides a catalog of pre-built security as code blueprints that incorporate your business and app context actually. It is built using a bring your own language framework to make it easy for you to extend and customize. The second one is a intelligent IAC translation engine. oak9's IAC translation engine translates arbitrary IAC infrastructure as code to an application architecture and also translates design changes to that specific architecture back to IAC. The third one is the advanced auto remediation. Already mentioned about that, one of the industry first feature which oak9 introduced very early in the industry. And oak9 provides advanced remediation that translates design changes to code changes across your files, modules, and variables. So auto remediation at single click, one click. The fourth one, why oak9? Real-time monitoring and drift management. oak9 continuously monitors for drifts from the intended application design and ensures application architecture remains secure by design. Okay, so the cloud first, with cloud first, the security first and secure by design also gets taken care of by oak9. And the fifth and most important point is the flexible pricing model. So on the pricing front, we have got t-shirt size like pricing. We have got special pricing packages for startups, special deals for small and medium enterprises, and of course, still deals for large enterprises and based on their cloud footprints. A special note, a very important announcement that very recently, with the pure intent to spread awareness and democratize the cloud and IAC security based practices, oak9 has come up with the community edition. So please check that out. You can just visit oak9.io, our official website, and get your cloud or Terraform IAC tested or verified in just 5 minutes. It's a very quick agentless solution, and in just 5 minutes you can have your first test or scan done actually. So it's so easy. So in short, some of the industry first and cool features, proactive approach to the real cloud security challenges, the great vision and the product roadmap, our local presence and community support. All these make oak9 stand out on its own in the industry. Thank you very much. And I would like to open the forum for further questions.
Thanks, Ronak. Seems like there were a couple more questions that I answered online.
Great session, Om, Ronak. Thank you so much. We had a great time listening to you. I hope you all also had a great time. So we have some, questions coming in, so we can take those. Mr. Amol is asking, can you share some pricing view and nomenclature?
Yeah, our pricing is available on our website. So our pricing is pretty simple. Let me bring up our website. Give me a second here.
And yeah, while Om is just pulling up the pricing, I must add on top of it that is the least price, and please get in touch with us to get the base pricing, I would say. Yeah.
Right, and I would like to add on pricing that, over the period in last 6 months, we have evaluated Indian market, and we have come up with special pricing for India and Asia. So whatever Om is displaying is totally US pricing. So we have approval on the special pricing for India and Asia. So we will roll that out to you as we connect back with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, one more important stuff that oak9 is already available over AWS Marketplace and Azure Store. So you can even check that out over there. We are official partners with AWS, GitHub, and HashiCorp. And of course, we can make a special private offer to you through those AWS and Azure stores or marketplaces as well. So those routes are always open and welcome.
Yeah, and if anyone has more questions that, we didn't get to cover today, or that, you would like for us to do even a deeper dive into the tool, you can always email and reach out at hello@oak9.io. And Pushpa and Ronak and myself and other folks can chime in and help answer more questions, do a deeper dive of the product for those that are interested. Can you explain, Amol is asking, can you explain how this breakup of 5 applications is done? Yeah, applications for us are really any project that you have. Each application that we segment, right, is really covers up to about 200 resources. So the community edition, one application is up to 200 of your cloud resources, right? And cloud resources are, to us, are the same way AWS or Azure service provider thinks of a cloud resource. So any compute, networking, storage, virtual instance, virtual network, they're all resources in the cloud. So we count the resources the same way. Thanks for asking that clarifying question, Amol. No, they don't need to necessarily be in one account. They can span multiple accounts. We don't restrict on number of accounts.
Great. So, Sejal, we can shift to the quiz.
Yeah,
let me
sure.
sharing.
Once again, thank you, Team Oak9, for being here. Great, having you here. We enjoyed this session thoroughly, and it was quite engaging as well, as we got a lot of questions and compliments. So thank you so much for being here. And with that, participants, we are left with the Kahoot quiz, which will be based on the presentation. So just allow us a minute to run the quiz, and until then, I will just post the link to the participation certificate. You just have to fill the feedback form, and once you fill it, you will receive a participation certificate. So until we set up the quiz, please quickly let us know your feedback for this session, and we will begin shortly with the quiz. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I request everyone to quickly fill up the form, since we are running a little short on time today. So we will just begin with the quiz, but please fill the form before that. And okay, I would request my team to kindly start with the Kahoot quiz. Okay, I hope everyone can see the screen, and you just have to go to the website www.kahoot.it, and you have to enter the game pin, or you can simply scan the QR code over here. I will just put the website in the chat. Okay, please, while you enter your name, kindly enter your full name so that we don't have any troubles with that later. And the quiz works in a fastest finger first kind of way. You have to be quick with your answers. And the top 3 winners will get Amazon Kindles. So just quickly join up. We will start in another couple minutes. Okay, just one more minute. Quickly join the website and enter the game pin, and please enter your full name. Thank you, Anil sir. I think it's fair that way. Thank you so much. I mean, you can still join though. Okay, okay, last 10 seconds and then we will start. Okay, okay, then let's just start with this. Okay, so you will be having a timer on your screen, so just keep an eye on that. And here is the first question. What problems oak9 solves for the organizations? This is an easy one, come on.
I hope they're all easy, Sejal.
Okay, let's see okay, most of them got it right. Okay, the scoreboard looks like Mr. Krishna Kumar is leading. I think we should really give others chance as well, you know, the top 3 who are at this scoreboard right now. Okay, here is the second question. What makes oak9 best in class solution? Okay, and okay, all of the above. Let's see if the scoreboard has changed. Okay, Mr. Gaurav Saxena, Gokulavan, and Ashok Maruti are the top 3 as of now. And here's the third question. How can one try oak9 without purchasing it?
I'm rooting for Gaurav Saxena.
Okay, Gaurav Saxena is still at the top.
Yes.
Mr. Gaurav, I would request you to kindly give others also a chance to win. You are on a winning streak. Okay, here is the fourth question. Which online cloud marketplaces oak9 is available for subscription? Oops. Okay. Okay, here is the fifth question. What type of access of cloud platform is required by oak9? So this is the second last question. You still have the chance to you know, top up the scoreboard. So okay, okay, Boris. Okay, Karishma, I would request you the same. Okay, here is the last question. AWS, HashiCorp, and GitHub are official partners of oak9. True or false? Okay, and with that, the quiz is done. Let's see how the podium looks like. At the third position, we have Gaurav Saxena. Congratulations, sir. At the second position, we have Krishna Kumar Jhala. Congratulations, sir. And okay, Karishma is at the first position. Congratulations to the winners.
I think Karishma also asked pretty good questions, so it's fine.
Fair, yeah. Oh,
Congratulations.
okay.
Congratulations to all the winners.
All the winners, yeah.
Okay, the team will get in touch with you for the gifting details. And with that, we are left with the Wheel of Fortune for the ones that have filled the feedback form. So I will request my team to kindly share this screen and we can. Okay, so just a minute. Just a minute. I will just get it run again. Okay, and 3, 2, 1, we can spin the wheel. Okay, so there will be only one winner from this, and they will get a chance to win amazing goodies from Selfrat. And the winner is, congratulations, Mr. Nitan Dharne. Thank you for letting us know your feedback, and we will surely consider that. And with that, we have come to the conclusion of today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you had a great learning time here. And we will, of course, keep doing such sessions for you. And have a great day ahead. Thank you, Team Oak9 once again. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sejal.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Cyberfreight. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye.